Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. Today I'm talking with my friend Jarid, and it's actually kind of going to be fun for me to do this deal deep delve because about 6 months ago, Jarid reached out to me. We've known each other for a while, and he heard that I was getting into real estate investing and asked me if I would kind of sit with him and actually have a face-to-face Dion Talk and go over how real estate works. So he came in, sat with me, we had a good talk. I gave him the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and told him to reach out with any questions he had. And I've done that with a few people, but Jarid reached out a couple times with some questions, and I really hadn't heard from him for a few months. And then he reached out recently and said, hey, I just closed on my first duplex. So I thought this would be a really cool deal deep delve to look at because during 2021, most people are saying the market's too hot, prices are too high, there's no way I can buy a property. So I wanted to hear how somebody who 7 months ago really hadn't done much research has now closed on his first deal. So Jarid, if you could take just a few minutes, tell me a little bit about yourself and this deal. How did you find it?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Dion. Like you said, my name's Jarid. I'm married, had 2 kids, a 11-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And you're about what, 68 years old?
Yeah, I'm pushing it, man. No, yeah, I'm 32 actually. Yeah, like you said, new to all this,
Fair enough.
But yeah, I currently do appliance repair here in Seattle, and so I'm going to be moving, transferring my current job down to Oregon, Bend, Oregon, and after talking with you, was very determined to get a duplex, and just kind of worked out that it was all happening at the same time. We were able to find a deal down there. You asked me how I found it, so. This one, I think we actually found on Zillow, of all places.
Did you find an agent in the area, or did you reach out to the agent on that platform?
So that was the hard part, really, because Bend is, I don't know what's going on there, but it's like madness. And finding an agent to help at a distance was very difficult. So we ended up calling someone that was listed on this one. He ended up being a great guy, and just about fell out of his chair when we told him we wanted to make an offer without seeing it, but they were going so fast we wanted to move quickly. And so he actually worked in the same office as the listing agent for this deal. So things moved really quick, and he was able to get us into like a Zoom like this to walk the property like the next morning and get to see the inside. And so things moved pretty quick.
So that's one thing I've learned as an investor. When the market swings to the buyer's side, you have a lot of time to make decisions. When it swings like it is now to the seller's side, every offer I've made has been made before I see the property. And during the inspection period is when you decide if you want it or not. So that's when something can pop up that you change your mind with. How much was the property?
It was listed at $329, which to me, being here in Seattle, as you know, I was like, that's a great price, for what it was. So yeah, $329, and we didn't want to mess around, so we just gave a full ask offer.
Okay. So the really cool thing there is in most markets right now, because there's about 400 in the United States, many properties are going for $20, $30, $40, or $50,000 above asking. So you made an asking price offer and you got it at that, which is good. I just did that recently on a duplex myself. And you said 329 sounds good because you're from Seattle. And a lot of markets are seeing that where people are moving out of places like Seattle or Los Angeles, San Francisco, and they move to other states where 329,000 is a huge number for some people. Duplexes go for 100,000 in some markets, but in Seattle, it's 900,000 for a 30-year-old duplex. So 329. Did you check what the area average rents are in?
Yeah, so we did some digging there. It was coming up. It was kind of varied between 900 and like 1,200. What we ended up finding out about this, the square footage of this one was that it was around 1,100 was the number that we kind of settled on.
And how many bedrooms?
It's 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, and it's got garages kind of similar to some of the ones I've seen that you have, with the garage in the middle. Only shares a kitchen wall.
And so it's a side-by-side unit, no tenants above or below the others.
Yeah, exactly. And this one, it like set up with separate power, and water fed. So that was nice too. And then it's on the city sewer. So just kind of checked all the boxes right out of the gate. We just closed on Monday, and finally got to walk the unit the same day, the one side that we're going to be moving into, and the washer and dryer were missing. And we were like, what the heck? We thought that there was a washer and dryer in here, but anyways, so I'm going to leave here and go pick up a new washer and dryer.
Good luck with that. A lot of places have them on back order. Most appliances are hard to get. You might have to find, just because it'll be there, a scratch and dent center that has them in stock.
No, you're right. These are on back order. This is like used on the used market.
That's what I've had to do too.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And it was built in 2000, so it's not that old.
No, that's actually not a lot newer than most of mine. I think my newest property is 1992. My oldest is 1929. So there's quite a spread there.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's a fairly newer duplex in comparison.
Yeah.
And with prices being driven up in a lot of markets, I think we're going to see rent increases. So if your spread was from 900 to 1200, you're probably in the 1000 to 1100 now as you purchase it. But really watch those rents, because what I'm finding is Rentometer and the Housing Authority, which is where I usually found out my area average rents, are kind of lagging behind. And recently I had a tenant flip in one of my duplexes where the Housing Authority was at 1650 and Rentometer was at 1700. But when I went to apartments.com and Zillow and looked at a couple rentals in the area, they were all for 2000, 2100. I rented it out for 1800, had 12 people looking within the first day of it posting. So you may be surprised that the rents are a bit higher than what you were expecting within a year or so.
That's a good point.
And what is the long-term plan? How long do you plan on house hacking before you buy the next property, or are you going to stay there forever?
I think our plan was a year or two. We definitely want to get another deal in between that 1 and 2 year mark, and then we're gonna hopefully have our next deal by then.
Who did you use to finance this?
A local bank there called Canopy Mortgage. I think when we did the search, it popped up, and we kind of made a comparison with our bank that we currently use, and they were a little bit better. And I just think I think we decided that because we thought it'd be easier with someone local there.
What interest rate did you end up closing with?
3.2%. Because it was, we could have gotten lower if we had bought some points, but with the situation, it was, this seemed like the best deal.
That is a really good rate. Yes, I just closed on my duplex at 3.65, so it's quite a little bit higher than that. One of the things that we need to think about is you're coming from Seattle, which is in Washington State, where I invest, and rent control is actually against the law here, but you're moving to Oregon, where rent control is actually a thing. I have an idea of how I would handle it if I invested there. So I want to know what your opinion of that is. How are you going to deal with that?
Yeah, so it's sort of a unique situation with having a duplex there. From what my research that I found is that when you're owner occupied, well, actually, first of all, I should start with the fact that the reason why this is an issue is because the one side that's going to has a tenant in there currently, they unfortunately have not been keeping up with the rent increases, so it's not to the 1100 market rent currently that it should be. We did the math, and if we raised it the minimum, which is 7%, I believe, plus inflation, so talking to some people there, it comes out to about 9%. It would take us 4 years to at least to get close to that 1100. By then it's going to be even higher probably. So it's definitely an issue.
Right. So one of the challenges with rent control is that it basically forces an owner to raise the rent the maximum allowable every year. So in Washington State, I'm very comfortable doing a 5% increase every other year. So a rent control of 7% plus inflation doesn't sound bad until you find a situation like yours where the person's been paying far below market rents. So it's not a viable purchase for you. where it is. So you have a couple of options. Anybody watching knows that this is not legal advice. We are doing this video for entertainment value. Take from it what you will. If you can verify those rules and you have the ability to have the tenant move out, you don't own enough properties for the other laws to kick in. Verify that first with someone in Oregon, like an attorney, specifically a real estate attorney. But before you make the tenant move, I would have a conversation with them, use the binder method, which hopefully you're familiar with that. You've seen my video on how you get the tenant to request a rent increase any longer a lease. If you can get them to do that, they may request the rent to go up enough to make it worth their time to stay, because moving involves the expenses of moving, the disruption of their life, the deposit, first and last months of the new place. And maybe that's an option before you just use the law to get them out.
Yeah, totally. That's great advice. We actually have a meeting over the phone scheduled with an attorney there locally right now for tomorrow. This is all happening pretty fast.
No worries. And you may be surprised with that binder method. I've had tenants in the $800 and $900 a month range request it to go up to over $1,300 because they knew they were so far below. I'm in a state that doesn't have rent control. So they knew my best option was to kick them out, fix the place up, and put it to area markets, which were $1,450 or so, maybe $1,500. And that's cheaper for you than them moving out, you doing a rehab, which can be $2,000 to $7,000.
Yep.
And then placing a new tenant. The reason I asked about the rent control is now that you understand how that works, once you own it and you have the tenants in there, you are pretty much forced to raise the rents every year, the maximum allowable, which is why it always confuses me that rent control gets voted in, because I have a friend here in Washington State that has 30 rentals. He hasn't raised rents on probably 90% of them in over 10 years. He just has a tenant there. If they're a good tenant, he leaves them alone. If rent control was ever instituted, he would absolutely have to raise the rents every year on those people. So at least you're going into it with knowledge, and it sounds like you've got a plan going with the attorney and finding out what the laws are before you take action.
Exactly.
And then with my little adjustment of hopefully having a good conversation with the tenant before you take that action. Someday I might look into buying property in a place where there is rent control, but not today. I really want to appreciate you taking the time to share this, because this is your first investment, which is scary, and you're doing it in a time during a pandemic, which is scary. But it sounds like you've worked it out and you've got a plan for it. If somebody wants to reach out to you, if they have any questions, because people will always have follow-up questions, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook just as myself, Jarid Hawkinson. Yeah. But yeah, no, this is really awesome, man. I was pretty stoked, when you asked me to come on here, because I love watching your videos. So the fact that you're going to make one with me on it is just so cool. No, actually, I want to thank you. Hopefully somebody can get some motivation from you pulling this off as a first investment in a weird time to invest, especially being a seller's market. So thanks a lot for that. Yeah. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Right on, man.
Now you've seen the
so how long does it take you to edit all this stuff?
So this will probably come out not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. It takes about 5 hours to go through and get everything, cut out the bad sounds. And what's really weird is no one realizes you do this until you do a video. But we all do this thing where we clear our throat and we open our mouth, and that tick is like a hammer to the microphones.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got to go through and get out every single time somebody goes like that. And that takes forever. And I can't say it before the videos, because then everybody's like thinking about how they're talking. So it just screws everything up. It's easier for me to edit.
That's hilarious, man. That's hilarious. Hey, thanks for doing this, Dion. This has been really cool. I'm beside myself with this whole thing and having me on here. So it's awesome, man. I can't wait.
And congratulations on the duplex, man. That's amazing. That was life-changing for me the first time I got into a duplex and realized you don't have to pay a mortgage or rent to live somewhere. You might not reduce it all the way to zero. You'll be paying something, but it's a lot less than whatever you were paying before. And then the next one, it's just better and better. And
awesome. And I hope it gets easier and easier, like you said.
It does. You jump through some hoops on this one that I haven't had to deal with. So good job.
Yeah. It's been, I feel like everything that has gone wrong or, could go wrong every step of the way, they're put the deal at risk has happened. And we just held on and, made it through. So it's been awesome.
Well, the next one will be easier.
Yeah. And we'll have to do this again. Okay.
We will. All right. Talk to you later.
All right, man. Catch you later. Bye. The number you called is not in service at this time.